Hello and welcome to everyone. Today my guest is Canadian MMA fighter, it's Micah Brakefield. Can you please say a few words about yourself for introduction so we can go with the interview proceed? Go for it.
Hey, my name is Micah Brakefield. I fight at 185 pounds, trained out at 10th Planet Coquitlam.
When did you start training? MMA, BJJ, whatever. Which was your first experience?
I wrestled through high school and college, and then I started fighting MMA actually before I started training mixed martial arts. I had two fights with like zero training in mixed martial arts, and then I started training jujitsu and kickboxing and stuff before my third fight, which was against a guy Matt Dwyer, who ended up fighting in the UFC actually.
Awesome. So, is Jiu-Jitsu your fundamental martial art or not?
Yeah, now I'm probably more jujitsu than wrestling, but wrestling's my base. Like I started wrestling when I was 12 years old, and I did it all through high school and university. So I don't know, but I was always kind of more of a like a funky grappler. So when I started jujitsu, it made a lot of sense to me right away.
Awesome. Do you have a nickname?
Yeah, I go by Mighty. So Mighty Micah Brakefield. It was my like childhood nickname growing up. My like parents and my parents' friends always called me Mighty Mite.
Oh, sounds great. So, can you describe your first amateur fight? Do you remember it?
Yeah, my first amateur fight was actually like crazy. I was supposed to be on the undercard. I had fought this guy at like a local like a tournament thing that I did, and I beat him, and he was like a 6-1 fighter about to go pro. And his coach contacted me, asked if I wanted to fight on the undercard of a card they were putting on, and then I just had like probably like 10 different opponents pull out, and just they couldn't find anyone to fight me. And then a week before the event, someone pulled out of fighting him in the main event. So I ended up like going up 20 pounds and fighting him in the main event for my first fight. And yeah, I got beat up pretty bad in the first round, and then in the second round, I like just tackled them and ended up submitting them with an armbar.
Fantastic. Got to say, fantastic story. So, do you have a favorite submission? Finish majority of your opponents via triangles, chokes, or arm bars, right?
Yeah, usually triangles. I don't know if it's like my favorite submission, but I think it's kind of the most readily available in MMA. Every time someone's in your guard, if they're going to punch, as soon as they pull one arm out, they're giving you an opportunity at a triangle, I feel.
Yeah, sounds awesome, definitely. When it comes to your amateur MMA career, which was your most difficult fight?
Most difficult fight was probably that one where I fought Matt Dwyer. It was he choked me out with like 10 seconds left in the fight. It was like a mad scramble. I had like 13 or 14 fights already, and I had been training for like 2 months with an actual team. So I was trying so hard, but he was like one step ahead of me most of the fight. Even though it was a pretty close fight, I was definitely lacking in experience, and he was able just to pull it off with experience.
How did you feel heading into your first professional fight and how did it end?
My first pro fight was probably my best fight, start to finish. Actually, I had been training really hard. I was living with this guy Caleb Starnes, who used to fight in the UFC. He's kind of famous or infamous for kind of running away in a fight, but he's like one of the best technical coaches that I've ever worked with, and I was really ready for that fight, and I took the guy down and beat him up the whole first round, and I was very patient. Usually I would jump for a submission, but in this fight I was very patient. I could hear his voice in my head just saying, "No, he's not ready yet. Just break him." And I ended up winning in the second round with just elbows from the top.
Awesome. How did you armbar your next opponent, Darwin Douglas?
He pretty much knocked me out cold, and I woke up breaking his arm, and the ref pulled me off, and then I asked him how I lost, and the referee informed me that I won. And I kind of just laughed and said good and accepted the praise from the crowd. But yeah, that one was all instinct.
So you technically didn't know you win that fight, right?
I had, yeah, no, I was he hit me, and I was in the center of the cage, but I thought I was really close to the cage, so I started backing up just to try and touch the cage. And if you watch on video, I stumbled across the whole cage and eventually touched it, and he ran in and hit me with an overhand right, and I just fell face down and then woke up breaking his arm.
Interesting. Your first professional loss happened in the next fight, right?
It did, yeah. I fought a guy that I thought the only thing I had to worry about was jiu-jitsu, and I was pretty confident that the only way he could beat me was kind of taking me down and grinding me out. And he faked the shot. I dropped my hands, and he hit me with an overhand right that put me right out.
How did you defeat Jake Asher?
Him, I actually took that fight probably way too close to getting knocked out, but I was going to go try out for the Ultimate Fighter, so I needed to get another win. So I was coming off a win to go try out, and I just took him down and put him in a triangle and just elbowed his face into oblivion. It was really quick fight. I didn't get punched once.
What do you think of your WSOF fight?
That was a good learning experience. I'd fought a lot of times not in shape, but I was able to overcome it with just kind of being a more experienced athlete. And Brendan Kornberger was a powerhouse, and he was just able to defend in the first round. And I started getting tired, and he landed some big, heavy shots from on top, and eventually the ref stopped it.
Yeah, great. Jordan Beercroft, how was that fight?
That fight was another interesting one. I had actually taken that fight on really short notice. I was supposed to fight a few weeks before, and my opponent pulled out the day of the fight because he was sick. And then I took that fight on short notice a few weeks later, and then I got really sick. And the doctors in the pre-fight medical tried to not let me fight, and I told them that I knew I was sick and I was okay going in with only being able to fight for a few minutes because I thought I would be able to win. And luckily, one of my coaches at the time came up with a game plan to throw a head kick and hope that he shot on me because I wasn't going to have the energy to take him down. And it worked. I threw a head kick and he shot, and I was able to secure a triangle real quick.
Yeah, you also finished Josh Griffin and Brett Stewart via triangle choke, so that's the ultimate reason why I asked you whether this is your favorite submission.
Yeah. I get them a lot. I hit triangles from a lot of different angles and stuff, but yeah, I think in MMA it kind of just is the first go-to when someone is punching, and I happen to just get them. There's no tough through choke. It's science.
Yeah, I understand you. What happened in the fight against Mariusz Sierszkiewicz, or I hope I said his name well, he is a Polish dude.
I won't be able to correct you on that one. I couldn't say that guy's name to save my life either. Yeah, that was it was just a good fight. I had won kind of the first two rounds. He landed a nice shot at the end of the second round that just took away my equilibrium. And then when I was going out to start the third round, the referee just called the fight off. He looked into my eyes and could see I was pretty dizzy. I was fully willing to go out there and try and tackle him and ride out the third round or even get a submission, but the referee decided I wasn't good to go, and I don't know, probably a smart choice by him. I was definitely pretty dizzy and didn't like I wanted to fight. He asked me if I wanted to fight, and I said yes, but he could look in my eyes, and I could tell that he was going to stop it. My eyes were just going like crazy.
What happened against Taylor Bull?
Taylor Bull, he that was a fight that I should have fought calmer in. It was one of the first fights where I was in pretty good shape and I wanted to stay standing and stuff, but he caught a kick and punched me right in the mouth. And we have a joke with my friends that he hit me in the jiu-jitsu button. That's when it's over. And he hit me right in the jiu-jitsu button, and I just kind of panicked and knee barred him. I just wanted to get out of there.
Which was your toughest professional MMA fight? Did you have the toughest professional opponent?
My toughest opponent was probably Jesse Bongfeld. He's a UFC vet, and man, that was an early stoppage. I was 100% okay in that fight. I had fought the whole first round, winning the round. He landed one shot with a couple seconds left, and the ref just ran in and stopped it right away. I was not too impressed.
So that was the one. Can you discuss your submission underground career? All right, you can talk how it started, your opponent's fights. Go for it.
Yeah, Submission Underground has been a really cool series in my life. I think I had been really lighting them up online, just begging for a match, trying to get any match possible. And then eventually one of Chael Sonnen's friends actually DM'd me his email on Twitter and told me to message him and say that he had sent me. And I did. And then eventually they got me a match on the undercard against another brown belt. And I was just so focused on winning that match the way that I wanted. I walked into the match and I told Chael to pay attention because it's going to be the craziest shit you see tonight. And he looked at me and said, I believe you. And then I walked out and hit a flying triangle off the cage in like 25 seconds. And then they just kept having me back. I've been on almost every show they've ever had now.
You had more submission fights, I believe. So can you please talk other submission underground fights, or did you have just one or more fights, right?
Yeah, I've been on I think like 8 of their 13 shows they've had so far. I got quite a few wins with them. I've lost to some really good guys. I lost a match to Craig Jones, kind of known as like the best grappler in the world right now.
Yeah, I know.
Right at the beginning of his like rise to fame, the two of us were actually on the undercard, which that was his one and only match on the undercard. Kind of been the main event ever since then. And on the last event, I was matched up against Austin Vanfort, who he's like kind of known as Mr. Van Zandt. He's married to Paige Van Zandt, the UFC fighter. And we went into overtime, and there was just a miscommunication with the ref, and I kind of got the short end of the stick. But hopefully we're going to do a rematch on that one, because I think everyone understands.
Yeah, I understand. And about combat jiu-jitsu career, did you have some fights?
Yeah, that was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I got flown down to Mexico as an alternate for the Combat Worlds bracket. I ended up getting just like an extra match against a guy from Mexico, and I didn't actually throw any slaps. He slapped me once, and I chopped his arm behind his back, and then I did fake a slap, but he turtled and gave me his back, and I ended up kind of breaking his elbow with a cop lock. But it was a lot of fun. That was one of the. I really hope I can get to do some more combat jiu-jitsu.
Do you have some win? Was it Peruvian or Japanese necktie? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, a Japanese necktie is kind of just like a variation of a Darce choke. It's just a different way to lock it up. In Japanese, they call it the screw choke. It's really you're like taking his head and twisting it off, but it's also a choke and a neck crank at the same time.
So how do you do this choke? Is there some technical secret to applying it, or well, you said screw choke? I mean, you're screwing something. So
Yeah, you have your one arm in and you're trying to lock up like a darce like regular, but they've postured out of it. So you're connecting your hands and using your elbow to break his posture completely. And then you're twisting underneath him and locking his leg so he gets twisted and his head popped off at the same time as getting choked. It's a very, very uncomfortable position to be in.
yeah, but looks very difficult. I mean, my coach was showing me Peruvian necktie, but he was not showing Japanese. So I kind of tried to.
Yeah, Peruvian necktie is kind of like a similar grip, but you use your legs to lock over top of them. But the Japanese necktie is just kind of like the meaner older brother of the Peruvian necktie.
I assumed it has something to do with it, but Peruvian is very hard. That's why I'm asking. So Japanese is super hard, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the most common submission, but yeah, it's very, very effective.
Yeah, I guess. Would you like to add something to this interview? Is there something maybe that we missed? Maybe something would you like to add?
Uh, no, not really. I'm just hoping this whole lockdown finishes soon so we can get back to regular training at the gyms. I'm missing being able to be with my team every day.
Yeah, it misses to everybody. I just hope this will end up quickly. I hope UFC will take place this weekend. I hope it's not gonna be postponed again.
I think everyone is hoping that card goes through. If we were going to have Tony Ferguson fight anyone else in the whole world, I think we would unanimously yell out Justin Gaethje. That fight is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, man, 2 months without the UFC, without MMA. I don't know, man. Man can go insane from that.
Huh. A lot of people seem to be going insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got nothing fun to do on weekends, so yeah, trying to stay busy. Like Wilson Hayes says, I'm trying to stay busy, but it's kind of hard right now.
Yeah, I think most people have little small groups that they're training with in secret for the most part, but no one wants to branch out and kind of expand their circle, so everyone is just rolling with one or two people in garages with little puzzle mats and under the, undercover in darkness, which kind of sucks, but it's also kind of cool. It makes you feel like an outlaw, training.
Yeah, I know. Since this stupid lockdown started, I'm training in my apartment every day, and I have no problem with that. But bringing back to normal might be a bit hard after this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who sticks around after this. I think anyone who was, thinking about quitting or anything, I think they'll all fall off and numbers will dwindle. But there's a lot of people who train martial arts as a part of their mental health, and I really think it would be a big benefit to be able to open gyms back up and let people get exercise and have a reason to eat healthy. I know a lot of people have been eating terribly because they don't have any reason not to. A lot of people, they're able to eat healthy because they know they have to go to practice and they don't want to feel like garbage when they're rolling. But right now, no one's getting a roll, and people are ordering pizza all day and drinking a whole bunch.
Yeah, I know. It's very much terrible. I know. Very, very hard. Thank you for this lovely interview. I heard many new experiences, so thank you for opening up new sites and so on. So hope to watch you. I mean, in my country you can't follow submission grappling, unfortunately, but I hope they will unlock that option. We can only follow UFC and Bellator. Huh?
You guys don't have UFC Fight Pass?
I do, but the problem is we have it on TV, we have it on TV, we have 2 channels that broadcast, and you buy and you go through TV. So you can watch Cage Warriors, you can watch Bellator, you can watch UFC, and you can watch ONE FC sometimes, and sometimes you can watch Rising, but they are not interested in submission events, you know, and it's a third world country, and you know how it goes. So
Oh,
unfortunately,
that's crazy. Yeah, Mission Underground is actually on UFC Fight Pass. So
yeah, yeah, I have it, but it won't work. That's the problem. But every other big promotion works, but submission grappling won't work. Don't know why.
that's crazy. I thought you guys would love that stuff with all your sambo and all that.
Oh, of course we do. Of course we do. We have a lot of sambo champions. I mean, Bulgaria has a lot of. I don't live in Bulgaria. I live in a nearby state, Serbia. But Bulgaria has a lot of sambo champions. For example, Blago Ivanov's fundamental martial art is sambo.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to go over and compete in Eastern Europe sometime.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's a cool part of the world. I believe you'd like it. Cool part of the world, and it's not so cold like Canada.
Yeah, luckily I live in Vancouver, so it's we don't really have winter over here. It's pretty. It gets rainy, but we don't really get snow.
You don't have snow at all.
Not really. I think we had like maybe 1 or 2 days of snow this whole winter. But we get 90 days of rain in a row all the time. So it's one of the rainy. It's just north of Seattle. I don't know if you know
I do.
much about Seattle, but it's a very similar weather to Seattle.
Yeah, I know actually one of my friends was working in Seattle. He was on student's trade, you know, and he was telling that he hates Seattle because of rain, so I assume it's the same story.
Yeah, it's just actually even rainier in Vancouver than it is Seattle. So
Yeah, I assume. Thank you so much for this. I will now start creating video and I hope maybe 2, 3, 4 hours. I will see. If not, then my morning. It will be your night time. I will upload it and send it to you.
all right, well, thank you very much.
Alright, thank you. Have a great day.
You too.